So the partners that you have, how many are there?
We are 8 partners.
And is there ownership stake? And is that
Yes.
what the title of partner means to you?
Yes.
Okay. And you're not the CEO. Do you have to listen to the CEO? And
she's here, so yes, no, but I do. I mean, I think there's a lot of mutual respect involved in a partnership and in any kind of collaboration. And Sheila has more like a business background from McKinsey, among others, and in that sense. Where maybe the architects worry more about the skyline, she worries more about the bottom line. And I think that means that everybody keeps their eye on their particular interests. And it's not like there's any, it's not like the bottom line always rules or the architecture always rules. That there's, so I think there's a very good understanding. I think it's very, we never vote about anything in the company. I think it's, decisions are taken quite easily, and also I think now we are like 170 people distributed on 3 offices, mostly 2, like Copenhagen and New York.
Where's the third?
Beijing. We are 3 people in Beijing. But I think in that sense, and I think some of the other partners, like one of the other partners is in charge of business development, so he has his own little fiefdom, and we give input, positive and negative, to each other's fiefdoms, but in general, they're. I think also like, and maybe I think specifically for myself, I think actually when I started. I think actually when I moved to America in 2010, I had imagined, because suddenly we got going with the architecture office, and suddenly it went really well, and then I was having this idea that having an architecture is a bit like having a farm, like having an architecture office is like having a farm. There's this Danish children's song that says the farmer is always busy, then they needs to like water the grass and like feed the cows and like plow the field, and like so there's always something you have to do. And I was thinking it was a bit like that, so you're like totally stuck on your farm doing that. And then at some point, I had my own office in a way for 10 years. And then all of the partners became actual partners with a share in the ownership. And then Douglas Durst came around and saw the office and threw us a commission. And then I was thinking maybe this was the time to do something new. And then I was thinking like in a way I started big because I wanted like to work in an environment that I had helped define, and but in a way I didn't start the office because I wanted to have an office. I started the office because I wanted to do certain things, and to do them you needed some colleagues to help out and to take care of, and then you ended up building up this thing. And then finally I was thinking like, so if I now have an office, like essentially this idea, the things you own end up owning you. If I now have an office, that means I can't move to America, like something is wrong, then it's like the dog is not wagging the tail, but the tail is wagging the dog, or whatever it is. Like,
right.
So, and then sort of now that all the partners got ownership, I was thinking maybe the best way to sort of exercise their new ownership would be if I piss off. And it's worked out like incredibly well, but I think actually for all the partners, and essentially like I think the way we try to manage the office in general is also like to try to find out what is it that people really enjoy doing, and then try to see as much as possible if they can actually end up doing that. So in that sense, I have been the CEO of Big in the past, and I have had certain responsibilities, and I enjoyed doing them for a while because it was sort of necessary for a while. Mm-hmm. But then I didn't want to end up being consumed with that. So I think in that sense, I keep trying to sort of ask myself what is it that I want to do, and I think all the other partners, and essentially like, of course you can't do only what you want to do, but I think as long as like there is this sort of focus on this is what you want to achieve, so I'm doing all these things because I want to achieve this. Right. So then you actually want to do all the accessory stuff, but that as the challenges grow, you can actually, you somehow have to like keep steering so that it doesn't end up feeling like homework. I like this saying that if it feels like work, you're doing something wrong.
Right, exactly. Well, what we tell our clients is that it's like an onion. If you peel back all the layers that you shouldn't be doing and you get to that core of what you're good at and what you want to do, you'll be far more successful.
Did you take that from Shrek?
I didn't, but I'll have to check that out.
Onions have layers.
Yeah.
And then the donkey says, like, onion, that's such a nasty metaphor. You should be a parfait. Everybody likes parfaits.
All right, I'm going to change that entire thing. I've got to go back and edit my book, too.
Download Shrek.
So did you deliberately go out and find Sheila? Was that, we need a CEO, or was she a member of the organization that you sort of groomed for that?
In her case, we had already found someone that we made the CFO. And I think it's a case of like, if you end up in a job that you don't necessarily, he had already started the company, but he was much more of an entrepreneur/salesman type, which we hadn't figured out. So he was always trying to like come out and help, you know, pitching jobs and getting clients, and instead of like taking care of the basics, and he was hired as the CFO. So after 2 or 3 years, I was just suddenly realizing that we were about to go bankrupt. And I had like really left him in charge. So like I got my big sister into the office actually one evening. She's an economist. And we went through all the Excel sheets. And then we spent like the next couple of months just cutting down, like firing like 30 people and stopping the lunch, so like nobody could get lunch. They would have to go out and get it themselves. And like really like cutting the business down to like nothing. I had to go and borrow $1.5 million in the bank on my straight face.
And that worked?
It was before the financial crisis, so back then it did work actually, happily. So we were like lucky that we failed a year before the rest of the world. And then relieved the CFO of his duties, and then one of my board members knew Sheila. She was coming out of maternity leave, and was a little bit with her first daughter, and was a little bit curious about a new job. And you know, there was no way of telling, but it was like a match made in heaven. And since then, so basically, she took over, I think, in August 2008. And then the world collapsed in September 2008. So, but we've been, I think we were like a 60 people office back then, so it's been going better and better.
You've continued to grow. You didn't have to scale back at all during the 2008?
No, actually, I think we were already quite lean. And then we had won a lot of jobs, but we hadn't hired people yet. So I think we just stayed flat for a while. I think Sheila spent the first half a year. I think back when she started, there was like a typical like 90 days delay on people paying, and she just spent like the first 6 months getting on everybody's case, and I think reducing the delay time to like a quarter or something like that.
I mean, that's the livelihood of your business, right? Getting the money in.
And somehow, like getting people to cough up the cash is somehow still a reoccurring activity somehow.
Well, I think based on the type of clients you have that are typically developers, that they know how to use architects' money.
Yeah, but so does most states, actually.
Governments, yeah, that's true. It's true. So this is a big firm. I mean, 170 people. What are some of the greatest challenges, or maybe the greatest challenge, you think?
I mean, I think a lot of it is like we have actually figured out. I think one of the things we realized, it's so important with the company culture, because like I think a company is really the culture that's in it, and I think you don't really need, and it's almost down to like either you have it or you don't, but. I think, like for instance, like we've been growing quite fast here in New York.
Right.
I think we're 65 people now, and we started less than 3 years ago. And also because of the immigrations rules, we don't have the exact same cultural diversity, paradoxically, as we do in the Danish office, where we have more nationalities.
Really?
Yeah, you wouldn't expect, but it's somehow a lot easier to get a work permit for someone in Denmark than it is in America.
Yeah.
Or maybe we haven't found the magic words. There might be some secret recipe. I know that if you invest $500,000 in the West 57 project, you can get a green card.
Exactly. If you invest $500,000 in anything,
so we should just tell all our prospect employees, all you have to do is deposit $500,000. But I think in those kind of situations, it's very important to make sure that you somehow, because like some of the things that you do right, you might not be totally conscious about them. So I think one of my concerns has been to, and also because I've been traveling a lot back and forth between the two offices, is really try to find ways to make sure that we have a similar culture here in the US office as we do in the Copenhagen office. And I think it's a growing challenge. It was also kind of insane because like in September 2010, I left like a nice apartment in Copenhagen that me and some friends had built. We bought an old school and refurbished it, and a nice office with like sort of 80 super nice colleagues with a laser cutter and a 3D printer and everything in working order. And then I came over here with my friend Bjarke Schenk, the Swiss architect that was already over here, who's the project leader for West 57. And then we had to go down in Staples and buy like a printer. It was like sort of, and I was like living in an apartment with no furniture in it. We took the boat over to IKEA and bought a mattress and like a beginner's package of cups and cutlery. And I was like, and we hadn't even signed the contract for the West 57 project yet. We were like still doing some early sketches for it. And I was like thinking like, why the hell did you have to do this, you idiot? But then, like now, if you go to the office here, it looks like it's always been there. Like it's sort of amazing how you can instantly accumulate. So in that sense, I think we're much, much closer to having the spirit. And I think last summer, the summer party, like really felt like a big party.
Right.
So I think maybe that's the litmus test.
Exactly. The summer party.
I like it. I think at the next summer party, the theme is big hair.
Okay.
I have this obsession with theme parties where people dress into stupid costumes. So we try to always do that. the Copenhagen summer party last weekend was Big Sue.
Big Sue.
So everybody was in some kind of animal outfit. And it's kind of funny, like one of my, I went home reasonably early, but one of my colleagues live on the floor above me in the Copenhagen apartment. And the next morning I went out on the stair and I could see there had been an after party because there was like feathers and fur all
Really?
through the staircase. So, like, completely busted.
Right.
I could even see the feathers of which outfit.
Who they belong to.
Exactly. So
Did you bring him into the
I
office
now
next
have
day?
knowledge that.
Like, this feather belongs to you.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
know what you did last night. Is that the apartment building that one of your partners did that tape sculpture or artwork in the dining room?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, 'cause that's where I had dinner that night.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, that was great. You're right. We're not getting anywhere near these questions, but that's okay. But having these two offices, because I hear this a lot from different people, and keeping a culture intact, do you do anything to sort of cross-pollinate those two environments?
Yeah, like sort of gradually we've sent over. So now we're actually 4 partners in New York and 4 partners in Copenhagen. Then also like some of the people from the Copenhagen office have moved to the New York office. But in reverse, also some people have gotten kicked out by immigrations department and are now in Copenhagen. So I think we're going to sort of exchange DNA as much as possible. Also, then we actually have these 2 big flat screens in the 2 offices, where there's always an ongoing Skype call. So it's like a window into the other office. And the fantasy is that it should be so, the connection should be so blatant that, we have a lot of office couples.
Right.
So I'm going to our first big organized wedding, or like we didn't organize the wedding, but we orchestrated the meeting at least in Austin, Texas this November. But I think the fantasy is that when we go to a wedding where the people were working in in either of the 2 offices when they met on the big screen, then we have really broken down the barrier of the Atlantic Ocean.
You're your own monster.com, or not match.com.
Match.com.
Right?
No, but I think we have I think at least, we already have another wedding that was actually somebody that met at Big. There is already one completed marriage. And we just want to expand that.
Right.
Because the thinking is that eventually you can breed your own future architects. It's a very long-term...
Exactly. Yeah, that's your ownership transition, right? You just keep it coming. So just trying to get back to the world of architecture.
Something serious.
Yeah, forget about that. But you use a lot of, amazing graphics and technology. What do you think we're going to see in the next 5 years that's going to really change our industry?
I don't know, I think interestingly, you can really see each time we got a cool new tool, it has changed the way we work. So when we got our laser cutter, suddenly it gave us possibilities to handle things of certain complexities that we wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. And that's just like a model making tool. I don't know, we've been trying to convert to BIM stuff, and we have done it because in some government projects you have to do it and stuff. But I mean, in the end, I think a lot of these things so far have been better for things that are more primitive, because they're good at increasing certain efficiencies. But when you're doing more complex stuff than that, they don't really do the trick. But I think the last great new tool that we got was Grasshopper. And maybe that's 5 years ago. But Grasshopper, this plugin for Rhino, that's essentially Grasshopper is to parametric scripting what Windows or Macintosh was for what the graphic user interface was for personal computing. That suddenly any idiot who could control a mouse could actually do it. I still can't do Grasshopper, but at least scripting came from being like this incredibly difficult thing. At least I can sort of understand the principles that you basically construct incredibly complex formulas by graphically combining different variables graphically with little wires, almost like a switchboard. So you can actually create very, very complex equations with multiple variables where you can test the outcome of adjusting certain parameters very quickly, which means you can instantly see the consequences of what you're doing. And whereas previously it was so labor intensive that you couldn't really do it in the design process. You could do it once the design had been made, and you could do it for testing it or like sort of optimizing it.
Right.
But now you can actually do it as a form generating element in the actual design process. And I think that has had a significant influence. And I think the more blatant this Grasshopper or like graphic user interface of parametric design becomes available, the more it's actually going to influence the actual design processes. And I'm not talking about parametric design in the sort of because a lot of the people that claim parametric design as what they do, somehow their work looks like something that is spit out of a computer. But I think in the way that we try to do it, you can really, because I think the interesting thing about parametric design is not so much that it's coming out of an automated or semi-automated process, but it's actually selecting what are the parameters or what are the specific pieces of information that's going to inform my my design decisions, and to actually allow the computer to help you, instantly showing you the different consequences of tweaking certain variables.
So does this mean you'll never stop designing?
Yeah, but I think at least you can sort of. I think my old professor at the architecture school, this sort of hippie architect, Jens Thomas Arnfred, he said that a major part of being an architect is to try to outsource competence or outsource the design authority to factors that are greater than you. So essentially to try to not, because also like it's incredibly stressful to have to make every single decision. Because like, should it be red, should it be blue, should it be left, should it be right, should it be triangle, like square, circular. Like you sort of, you wake up, should it be in a circle. Whereas if you somehow can try to find, so who or what concern or what criteria could actually take this decision for me right now,
right.
Then you don't have to worry about that, because like it's obviously going to be like this because of this. And the more sophisticated you can make this process, there might have been some things that were simply too complex in the past for you to be able to outsource your sort of decision or design competence to that issue. Mm-hmm. But now with, for instance, Grasshopper or the graphic user interface of design parametrics, you can make increasingly complex issues actually inform your design decisions.
So it'll free you up, basically, to think in other ways.